examples. It's not, let's say, rocket science, but it's important to get to the lowest level of sort of the ex ante intervention. And that is as concrete as, in making cigarettes, the yield of cigarettes shall not be greater than 1 milligram per cigarette for nicotine. So this is a real legal norm for goods in the European Union, applicable to all producers of cigarettes in the internal market of the European Union. So that applies to all EU firms and non-EU firms. So the focus is, when you want to sell cigarettes in Europe, then this rule should be adhered to. And that is a nice, beautiful example. And half of you are smoking, so you have sort of connection with that good. It's a tangible thing, and this is about the material. So in the material of the good cigarette, the nicotine should not be more than 1 milligram per cigarette. So in making your goods, how do you determine whether you comply or not? Whether you are destined to produce market failure or not? You put a cigarette in a laboratory, and then people with a chemical background can analyze these substances, and then the neither of nicotine should not go further than 1 milligram. And in the ex post intervention, if after the cigarettes are on the market you want to know, is this good complying with the legal norm, you take a cigarette, you put it in a laboratory, you test the substances, and you look at the neither of nicotine. And if it is below 1 milligram, it's okay, no market failure. If it is above, it's not. As simple as it. Then air traffic, which is a service. So do not think that you buy a plane, or that you fly an airport, or that you are the owner of the seat, or, so it's a service. That your body is moved from spot A to spot B. Air transportation is complicated because those machines are ultimately rather fragile, and it matters where luggage is stored, and the weight division and the size of the chairs are like this, and so forth. And you have a certain type of citizen, the so-called disabled and limited mobility citizens. And they have equipment to live a normal life, wheelchairs and so forth. And the combination of wheelchair and airplane doesn't go well together, because planes are designed for fit people who can endure this type of service, rather than the ones the disabled people need. Well, and the consequence is that disabled people are discriminated. We talk about a market, it's a free market, plane companies, normal citizens, so no rowing on the side of the state, and in the private market, freedom of contract exists. And if you have good reasons to say, well, we designed our plane not for wheelchairs, so you have a wheelchair, so we cannot enter into a contract with you, because we cannot fulfill your dream. If you want to have transportation, please go to a competitor who has bigger planes and wheelchair entrance and so forth. That then is regarded as market failure, because that ultimately leads to the fact that disabled people are not buying plane tickets because those private jets with room for wheelchairs are far too expensive for ordinary citizens who happens to be disabled. And that is then the trigger to make an intervention in that market and basically say an air carrier shall not refuse, on grounds of disability or of reduced mobility, to accept a reservation for a flight, blah, blah. That means And as an air carrier, you know, whoa, I am obliged, because of the ex-ante intervention in my market, to accept such a reservation, a contract. Meaning that in the providing of the services, I have to retrain my air flight attendants, and maybe I have to take away 2 chairs so that there's 1 spot per airplane where a sort of disabled person can sit with a little bit more room for legs or whatever, so that the company can comply with the simple. Another example, mineral water. At source, so in the source. And during its marketing, so while mineral water is in a bottle in the chain of marketing shop when you purchase it, the natural mineral water shall be free from Escherichia coli and other coliforms and facial streptococci or cocci in any 250 milliliter sample example. Let's call this the streptococci rule.
It's a Greek word.
Yes? So how would you pronounce it? Streptococci. Streptococci. Well, nasty bacteria that kill you. So this is also, again, an example of a clear-cut rule, and there are millions of these rules. The purpose of this presentation, that you know, when I talk about rules, I talk about these animals that are clear-cut, stating the conditions of, let's say, the product in terms of the material, but not the material itself, like with the cigarettes, but the fact that on top of the thing you sell, you can sell other things like bacteria. And this rule says don't sell streptococci. Streptococci. So you do not only have to keep an eye on the water, and there are a million rules of mineral waters too, in terms of iron and magnesium and all kinds of other stuff that is in the water that makes it mineral water. But this is a nice rule of that no other goods may be sold, and since bacteria is a tangible thing, we could qualify it as a good, with a clear purpose. So market failure being that people die from drinking mineral water. And it's an appropriate rule and a relevant rule, because if you pump mineral water out of the soil, that is sort of natural environment where sheep and cows are also walking around and pooping, and then that gets into the water, and that's basically the whole idea. And so if you pump out mineral water, please don't do that below a field where cows are pooping, because then most likely that facial streptococci are getting into the soil, into the water, and it is then pumped out and drinking by you and me. So I think we have a clear idea of the examples, and that qualifies us for a little break of 6.5 minutes, and after the break we continue with the responsive regulation.